Welcome to Learn Yourself. Today we are going to study about physical change and chemical change. These topics are under CBSE Standard 9 from second chapter. So here, first of all, let us understand that what is the meaning of physical change and what is the meaning of chemical change. First of all, we will see physical change. This is a definition of physical change in which it says that change occur without change in composition. Composition means whatever substance is undergoing a change. The composition of substance should not change. And no change in chemical nature of the substance. So these two conditions are very important, that composition should not change and the chemical nature of the substance should not change. So when can we say that this is a physical change? That examples of physical change are change of state. Now what is the meaning of change of state? Earlier we have studied that interconversion of state. For example, solid will convert into liquid and liquid will convert into gas. When this change will happen, the composition of substance will not change and its chemical nature or the properties of substance will not change. It will remain same. For example, if ice is converting into water and water will convert into steam under this interconversion of state, then the composition of water will remain same throughout this change, that is H2O. Its chemical properties will not affected by this change. So this change is termed as a physical change. So what is a physical change? In which a composition will not change and a chemical nature of the substance should not change. Then that change is termed as physical change. We can also say that tearing of paper, breaking of glass, all this change comes under physical change because we are changing only its shape. Its physical nature will change but it will not affect its chemical composition and its characteristic properties. Now, what is the chemical change? Chemical change is a change where the chemical composition of substance will change and its chemical property will also change. That means any chemical reaction can be termed as chemical change. When two or more substances will come together and form another substance or a new substance, that is termed as chemical reaction and that is chemical change. So what are the chemical change? Any burning can be termed as chemical change. Suppose for example when you are burning a paper, it is converting into ash, that is carbon. So paper's chemical composition has been completely changed from paper to carbon or cellulose to carbon. So that burning is termed as chemical change. And any chemical reaction can be termed as chemical change. So when you are identifying a change, that whether this is a chemical change or physical change, you have to keep in your mind two things. After the change, the chemical composition is changed. If yes, then it is a chemical change. If not, then it is a physical change. And its characteristic properties should remain same if it is a physical change. And if it is changing, then it is a chemical change. Our next topic is element, compound and mixture. So in this we will have a brief idea about what are the elements, what are the compound and what are the mixture. In standard 10 we are going to study all these things in detail. So here first we will discuss element. What is an element? Element is a basic form of matter. So for any matter, element is the basic form and from which a substance will start building. So element is a basic form of matter that cannot be broken down into simpler substance by chemical reaction. So element is a very minute form of any matter. Once you will perform a chemical reaction and you will decompose a substance. until you can reach element, but further you cannot decompose that substance. For example, we have H2O. So if you will decompose this into a simpler substance, you will bifurcate this into a simpler substance, then you will get 2 hydrogen atom and 1 oxygen atom. So once you will get 1 oxygen atom, this element, once you will get, further decomposition or further breakdown is not possible once you will reach at the element level. Further you cannot break it through any chemical reaction. So this is an element. Here also this is a hydrogen element, but here there are 2 atoms. So again you can make it into 1, 1. So element is a basic form of matter that cannot be broken down into simpler substances by chemical reaction, because this is a very basic form of substance and this is a simplest form of substance. Further simplification cannot be possible. Now under element we have 3 major bifurcation. First is metal, second is metalloid, and third is non-metal. We all know metal and non-metal. Now what are the metalloids? Metalloids are the elements which are in between metal and non-metal. They are possessing properties from both metal and non-metal. So they are in between metal and non-metal. Here we are discussing metal and non-metals property in detail. So what are the metals? For example, we know metal like sodium, potassium, iron, and so many more metals. So they have luster, they conduct heat and electricity, they are very good conductors of heat and electricity, they are ductile, they are malleable, and they are sonorous. So now when we are studying about non-metals, whatever the properties of metal, it's exactly opposite for non-metal, that they do not have luster, they do not have shine, they are poor or they are almost bad conductor of heat and electricity. They cannot pass heat and they cannot pass electricity. They are non-ductile, non-malleable, and non-sonorous. You can also write metals are hard, whereas non-metals are soft, liquid, and gaseous substance. Non-metals you can write carbon, sulfur. So these are non-metals, and these are the properties of metals. Now moving towards our next topic, that is compound. What is a compound and how can we form a compound? So now we will discuss about what are the compounds. Compound is a substance composed of 2 or more elements chemically combined with one another in fixed ratio or proportion. That means that when 1 or 2 element comes together, for example, we will take sodium chloride, Na and Cl. This is a sodium and this is a chloride. When these 2 will comes together, they will chemically combine and they will form NaCl. So this is a common salt, that is sodium chloride. Now when these 2 elements will chemically combine, they will leave behind their original properties and they will form a new molecule which has a completely new set of property. For example, when we will talk about hydrogen. So hydrogen will react with oxygen and it will give us H2O. When we are discussing about water, hydrogen is a gas, oxygen is a gas. Both are gases, but when they are mixed together, when they are chemically combined, they will give us a liquid, and that is a water. So hydrogen and oxygen's both chemical property is different compared to water's chemical property. Oxygen is essential for burning, whereas water you can use to extinguish burning. So their properties are completely different, and why this has happened? Because they have undergone a chemical reaction. Earlier we have discussed in chemical change that what all substances are undergoing a chemical change. What and the substance what we will get after a chemical change, it has a completely new set of property. It has nothing to do with their earlier elements. If you will see the sodium, then sodium, when it comes in a contact with water, then sodium will start burning. So this sodium will attach with chlorine and it will give us sodium chloride, which is very well dissolved. You can dissolve sodium chloride in a water and it is edible also. So the elements, when they are undergoing a chemical reaction and they are giving a chemical compound, that compound has a completely different set of property compared to their element. So, and two or more element will combine chemically and in the fixed ratio. This is important because when we are discussing about water, then it is important that two atoms of hydrogen is connecting with one oxygen. If you will change this and you will write like H2O2, then this is not a water. HO2, then this is not a water. Only two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen will make a water molecule. These two are not a water molecule. So it is very important that their ratio or their proportion should be fixed. Here also one atom of sodium and chloride are connected with each other with a chemical reaction, chemical bond, and they will give us sodium chloride. So it is fixed. Whenever any chemical compound will be there, then their molecular formula is fixed. Then only that specific particular compound will form. Now mixtures and compounds. How the mixtures are different from compound. So what are the mixtures? Element or compound just mix together to form a mixture and no new compound will form. For example, if we will say that a mixture of iron and sulfur. These two elements I have mixed, iron and sulfur. I have just physically mixed these two, a powder of iron and a powder of sulfur I have mixed. So that is a mixture. What are the compounds? Element react to form a new compound. They have undergone a chemical reaction and they have formed a new compound. So this is a definition of mixture, that they are just physically mixed and there is no new substance after this mixing. Now variable composition. Throughout the mixture, the composition will be variable. If for a compound we will take NaCl. In one petri dish we are taking a mixture of iron and sulfur, and in another petri dish we are taking a salt. So when you are seeing a petri dish of salt, then throughout the composition of salt will remain same. Everywhere there will be a molecule of sodium chloride, and each and every molecule of sodium chloride will possess a property of that sodium chloride only. Whereas here the composition will be varied. That means it is mixture of iron and sulfur. So somewhere you can see iron, somewhere you can see sulfur. As the components will increase, you can see many variety of composition in the mixture. But that same thing you cannot expect in compound, because in compound the compound will show only one type of characteristic property. All the constituent means what all substances you have mixed in the mixture. All the constituents show their own property. Now, in mixture of iron and sulfur, if you will rotate a magnet on top of this petri dish, the iron will attracted towards magnet and it will separate out. That means sulfur has not affected iron. Iron has retained its own property. And this you can separate through a physical method, that is magnetization. You can separate, and all the mixture, whatever constituent or what all substance you have put in the mixture, they will retain their property because they have not undergone any chemical change. And here it is a fixed composition. Mixtures do not have any fixed composition. You can put as much as you want of any amount of any substance. Whereas here you cannot do so because in compound the proportion is fixed. So it is fixed composition. All molecules show same property. So throughout the compound, all the molecules will show a same characteristic properties. Here you can separate this mixture through physical method. Any mixture can separate through a physical method because they are physically mixed. They have not undergone any chemical change. Whereas here chemical reaction is a must to separate them. Whenever they are combined with a chemical bond, you have to perform chemical reaction if you want to separate them, if you want to decompose that compound. So this is a basic difference between mixture and compound. Basically you have to remember that compound is a chemical compound. It has gone under a chemical change. So their set of properties is fixed, their proportion is fixed. It will show a specific characteristic properties throughout the molecules. Whereas mixture is just a physical mix. All the constituent or all the components will retain their own property and we can separate them by physical method. So these two things are very different from each other. So this is all about a second chapter, and I have given the link of all the videos of second chapter in the description. If you have any doubt regarding any topic, please do write me at my email address or you can comment in a comment box. Don't forget to subscribe Learn Yourself because in coming videos we are going to solve some important question and exercise. I'll see you in next video. Till then, keep learning, keep sharing.